Today we're honoring 21 veterans who have courageously served our nation. These 21 men and women represent service in the Army, the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, and the Reserves. Today we will posthumously honor a World War II veteran who survived the attack on Pearl Harbor, and a Vietnam veteran who before his recent passing was recognized as the oldest surviving Vietnam veteran in our area. One of my constituents nominated a Revolutionary War veteran, Daniel Bissell, who is cited as the inspiration for George Washington's design of the Purple Heart. Like so many of the veterans nominated each year, this year's nominees continued to serve their communities when their military service ended. Rather than hanging up their uniforms and say, "My service is done," each and every one of them continued to ask, "What more can I do for my community?" Many of you have heard me say before that I come from a military family. My father was a veteran of the United States Air Force. He left high school before he graduated at 17 and enlisted. He lived in Ohio. At 17, he was put on a train, and it's still surprising to me where he landed. He landed at Sampson. And there he trained in preparation to be a mechanic during the Korean War. My father-in-law served in the U.S. Army, and so many of you have heard me over and over again talk about my son-in-law, who I'm so proud of, a member of he's a Green Beret. So I truly, truly appreciate you, not only as a state senator, but your service personally. I just can't thank each and every one of you for everything that you've done. We all read the papers, we all turn on the news at night. We see a lot about the recent wars, about the unrest in our world, and to me, and I'm sure to many of you, it reminds us all of the value of freedom and the blessings of health, safety, family, and community, which our veterans fought to defend and preserve for each and every one of us. This year, one of the questions that we asked all of our nominees is, what do you love most about America? Anyone want to guess what the most popular response was? Yeah, you're right. I don't think that comes as a surprise to anyone that freedom was the most common answer. It's truly my honor to recognize all of you today and to join with your families and friends in saying thank you, and we appreciate you. One of this year's 21 nominees will be selected next year as the 2024 inductee to the New York State Senate Veterans Hall of Fame in Albany. But today, I have the honor of announcing the 2023, it's this year's inductee, but selected from our 2022 class of nominees. He's here today, and it's with great pride and honor that I call up Mr. Kenneth Winkler and his wife, Olga. Ken Winkler proudly served in the United States military for 22 years. From 1962 to 1966, he served with the Air Force in Vietnam. In 1969, he joined the Army, receiving his Wings and Warrant Officer bars and advanced flight training on Huey helicopters. Mr. Winkler served in Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Germany before returning to the United States in training as an instrument examiner and warrant officer. From 1986 to 1990, he served numerous missions in Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, the Philippines, and Zaire. For his service, Mr. Winkler earned the prestigious Distinguished Flying Cross for heroism while participating in aerial flight, and for voluntary action above and beyond the call of duty. As a pilot and a gunner of an AH-1G armed helicopter supporting a battalion of advanced reconnaissance vehicle troops under siege in Laos, Mr. Winkler flew to the friendly position under challenging conditions and forced the enemy to retreat, ultimately continuing his attack under intense anti-aircraft fire. Mr. Winkler countered with suppressive fire and destroyed the enemy emplacements. Mr. Winkler retired as a CW-4 Master Aviator Instructor Examiner in 1985. He continued flying for government agencies in Central America, Africa, the Philippines, and the West Indies until 1990. During his career, Mr. Winkler amassed more than 10,000 flight hours as a pilot, instrument examiner, and flight instructor. For his service, Mr. Winkler received dozens of awards. These included 4 Bronze Stars, 34 Air Medals, 3 Meritorious Service Medals, the Republic of Vietnam Campaign Ribbon with device, Army Commendation Medal with 2 bronze oak leaf clusters, New York Conspicuous Service Cross, and a Humanitarian Service Medal for assisting during an earthquake in Naples, Italy in 1980. An accomplished 3-sport athlete, Mr. Winkler was recently inducted into the Victor Central School's Athletic Hall of Fame. He has been an active member of the American Legion James Cook Post 931 for over 20 years. Mr. Winkler met the love of his life, Olga, while serving in Germany. In 1975, they wedded at the First United Methodist Church in Canandaigua. Ken and Olga have 3 children, Leah, Caroline, and Kurt. I'm honored today to present Mr. Winkler with a New York State Senate proclamation honoring his selfless service to our country and commemorating his induction into the New York State Senate Veterans Hall of Fame. In addition, I have a special gift that was sent over by the Lap Robes of Webster organization. So first the proclamation. Thank you. And we have 2 lap robes that were donated by the Webster group. One commemorating your service in the Air Force and the other in the Army. Let's step up here. Congratulations to you. And now it's my honor to recognize this year's nominees. As I said, one of these nominees will be selected for the 2024 New York State Senate Veterans Hall of Fame in Albany. I would ask all of the nominees, when I call your name, if you please step forward with your nominator. And it's probably safer to step to this side. Our first nominee is George Becker, United States Navy, Electrician's Mate 2nd Class from the town of Riga. He was nominated by Monroe County legislator Steve Brew. George is a World War II veteran and a member of the greatest generation. He said he always wanted to join the Navy and serve his country. Like I told you about my own father, he enlisted at the age of 17. The moment in his service he remembers the most is the 2.5 years he spent in the South Pacific serving on the USS Emory, a destroyer escort ship, supporting the war effort and navigating what he describes as huge typhoons. George shared that his time in the military taught him to respect authority, to get along with people, and to be patient, and to appreciate what you have. What he loves most about America is our freedom. His nominator, Monroe County legislator Steve Brew, shared that he has known George for more than 30 years, and that George has inspired him and so many others to give back and to serve their communities. I also would like to acknowledge that George is 98 years young, and I'm told he lives independently. Yeah, I think that deserves a round of applause. Yeah. He lives independently and enjoys taking care of his house and his large lawn, which he mows himself. For his service, George received the World War II Victory Medal, the American Campaign Medal, and the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal. George, on behalf of the New York State Senate, it is an honor to congratulate you and thank you for your service. Thank you. Thank you. Don't go anywhere yet. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Tell him he got up last week by himself on a ladder and cleared all his gutters.
Oh my gosh. Steve wanted to let me know that just last week, George got up on the ladder and cleaned all of his gutters, too. The next nominee is David Lee Bell, United States Marine Corps Master Sergeant, who is deceased. He's from the town of Canandaigua. He was nominated by Will Ambrose. David Lee Bell passed away on August 18th, 2023, and is recognized posthumously. His nominator, Will Ambrose, shared that David was active in the Canandaigua VFW and was recognized as the oldest surviving Vietnam veteran in this year's Canandaigua Memorial Day Parade. Will said, "I respect his commitment to his community and his work to support children." David retired as a Master Sergeant after serving his country for over 21 years in both the Air Force and the Marines. He served 3 tours of duty in Vietnam. David retired from ExxonMobil as a maintenance engineer and worked at the Victor Hills Golf Club as a groundskeeper. He was an active member of the Canandaigua Moose Club. For over 25 years, he worked year-round holding raffles and seeking donations for the Angel Tree program, which he and his late wife, Bernice, established to collect food, clothing, and toys for those in need during the holidays. For over 65 years, David volunteered with children's charities, beginning with his time in the military. His family said he never looked for accolades or thanks or any recognition, as he truly did everything he did for the children. David is laid to rest with Bernice, his wife of 39 years, at the New York State Veterans Cemetery, formerly known as Sampson's Veterans Memorial Cemetery. Thank you so much for nominating David, and thank you. And before you go, we will take your voice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next nominee is Thomas W. Bieber, U.S. Navy E6, Town of Arcadia, who was nominated by Tracy Bieber. Thomas served in the United States Navy for 20 years. He was inspired to join the military for the career opportunities. He cites sailing the 7 seas on U.S. Navy vessels as the moment in his service he remembers the most. Thomas said he learned from the military order, discipline, accountability, leadership, commitment, and fellowship. What he loves most about America are our freedoms and our opportunities. His nominator and wife, Tracy, shared, "Tom has made our life together very special with all of his experiences and travel. We have many friends across the country due to the Navy. Tom is very patriotic. It's been an amazing journey. Tom is an outstanding husband and father to me and our girls. He has many achievements from the Navy, and it has made him who he is today. He works hard at his day job at Seneca Stone and also is a part-time contractor and carpenter. We are very proud of him. Tom, on behalf of the New York State Senate, it is an honor to thank you for your service and to recognize you with this Senate Commendation Award. Thank you. Dan Bissell, Army, Revolutionary War veteran. He's died and buried in Richmond, New York. He was nominated by Donald Hoyt III, a United States Navy veteran. I want to thank Mr. Hoyt for sharing this story with me and bringing awareness to this part of our history. Daniel Bissell, a Revolutionary War veteran, died in Richmond, New York in 1824 and is buried there in Allen's Hill Cemetery. Mr. Bissell is considered to have been an inspiration for George Washington's design of the Purple Heart. He was a soldier and a spy for the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War and was awarded the Badge of Military Merit by General Washington. I want to thank Donald for sharing this piece of history with us, and I ask you to please join me in a round of applause to show our appreciation. Robert Case, United States Air Force Sergeant from the town of Lyons, nominated by Loretta Case. Robert was inspired to join the military in the aftermath of President John F. Kennedy's assassination. That's when he decided to serve his country. Asked what he remembers most about his service, Robert said he was part of a classified support operation that resulted in 9 MiGs being shot down. His time in the military taught him discipline and skills in electronics. He said what he loves most about America is that America is a free country. His nominator and wife, Loretta, shared with us, "We have been married for 58 years. I gotta stop right there because that's where the This is a good one too. "We have raised our children to respect our country and other people." Yeah, that is Robert spent 44 years with the fire service, 18 years as a volunteer firefighter, 20 years as a career firefighter, and 6 years as a City of Canandaigua fire chief. Robert, I want to thank you for your military service and for your commitment to our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. And don't go anywhere. On behalf of the New York State Senate, it is an honor to present you with this citation.
Thank you.
Our next nominee is Chris Edgerton, United States Air Force Senior Master Sergeant from the town of Farmington, nominated by Kara Edgerton. Chris served 24 and a half years in the United States Air Force. He joined the military because he had a calling for service and to start a new path in life. Chris shared that the moment in his service he remembers most is talking to an Afghan Air Force Security Forces officer after the fall of Kabul in 2021. Chris said, "I learned how he and his men utilized the training my team and I had given them, and how that training saved their lives, helping them to evacuate Haikiwa, Kabul, while fighting the Taliban." From his time in the military, Chris learned to never turn down an opportunity, especially one that you've sought out yourself. What does he love most about America? Freedom and opportunity. His nominator and wife, Kara, shared, "Chris showed me how the Air Force's core values can actually be achieved in real life. My husband put his heart and soul into his career and balanced his home life very well. We had 7 different assignments and made each one memorable and brought 2 beautiful boys into the world." For his service, Chris received the Bronze Star, Meritorious Service Medal, Commendation Medal with Valor and Combat Action Medal. Chris, I want to thank you for your military service and your commitment to the community. Thank you. And don't go anywhere yet. James A. Fenwick, United States Army, Private First Class, Town of Victor, nominated by Catherine Isaacson. James was inspired to join the United States Army because of his patriotism for his country. What he remembers most from his military service is switching from military police to walking point with a scout dog on ambush and reconnaissance patrols. The valuable lesson he learned during his service from 1968 to 1970 was, trust in the men around you. James said what he loves most about America is his freedom to think as he pleases. His nominator and wife, Catherine, shared, we met in college and still share most interest, especially travel and family. James received the Bronze Star and Army Commendation Medal. He is a true animal lover, especially dogs. James, I want to thank you for your service. Thank you. And on behalf of thank you. Luke Ford, United States Marine Corps Sergeant, Town of Manchester, nominated by Haley Ford. Luke shared with us that he was inspired to join the military because he wanted to do something to better himself and learn more than he would have by going to college. He shared that the moment, are those your kids waving in the back?
They are.
Wave back to them. He shared that the moment he remembers most from his service is the timeless bond created with all the service members, past, present, and future. Asked what lessons he learned from the military, Luke said, the military showed me the importance of understanding that in order to complete any mission or task, you cannot always rely on yourself. You will at some time need to work with or need the support of others to reach the goal. He shared that America is the country he has been willing to put his life on the line for because, and I quote him, I do believe that America is still a place where you can make anything happen if you're willing to fight for what you want. His nominator and wife Haley said of Luke, he is not only my spouse and my rock, but my partner and my best friend in life. He has taught me so much about adversity and living life to the fullest, despite challenges and impairments. He is an amazing father and has overcome so much since leaving the military, but never forgets the lessons that he learned. He instills those important lessons every day with his children. Luke continues to serve his country and fellow veterans as an employee of the VA. He is also an active member of the Palmyra American Legion Post 120. Luke, thank you for your incredible service. Thank you. Howard M. Hance, United States Army Corporal, Town of Marion. He's being honored posthumously, nominated by Marion Town Councilman Ron Lonneville. Ron is here. Howard is a World War II veteran and member of the Greatest Generation. Among his military honors, he received the Pearl Harbor Commemorative Medal. His nominator, Ron, shared with us, it is with great honor as a patriotic American and Marion Town Board member that I posthumously nominate Corporal Howard Hance. The Hance family has always been part of the fabric that held the town together and made Marion prosper. Howard graduated from Marion Central School. After his military service, he married and started a family in Marion. He worked for Sure Crop Fertilizers and Karenko Fertilizers. With Al Curtis, Howard started the Snow White Laundromat. Howard also served on the town board. Howard's son Craig and grandson Dakota shared of his military service. Howard was drafted in April 1941 before the United States was at war. He served in the United States Army Air Corps. After basic training, Howard was stationed in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. On the morning of December 7th, 1941, he went to Sunday morning church service. After service, on the way back from breakfast, he recalled, "My buddies and I were swinging our mess tints around to dry them off, and we heard boom." Howard and his fellow servicemen were confused as to what was going on. They would soon realize that this was the real deal. Howard was assigned to an anti-aircraft battery on Hickam Field. His crew was credited with shooting down 7 Japanese aircraft. It was awful. Bodies were everywhere, in the water, somewhere in pieces. Howard survived the attack on Pearl Harbor and soon found himself in many spots around the Pacific repairing radar stations. Howard returned to the United States to help train incoming troops and was stationed at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Because he broke his ankle playing volleyball, he was spared from going to the Battle of the Bulge in Europe. Howard continued his service until the war ended in 1945. It is such an honor to be able to recognize your grandfather and your father and your friends. Our next nominee is Ed Heminger, United States Air Force Chief Master Sergeant from the town of Farmington, who was nominated by Farmington Town Supervisor Peter Englesby.
Thank you very much.
You brought your own cheer team.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Cheers one. I know.
I think they brought half of Farmington with them. And Phelps, okay. Ed served for 23 years in the United States Air Force, inspired to join the military because he felt a duty to his country during the Vietnam War. Ed was part of a team that created the first command post for the modern-day 1st Air Force. He said his time in the military taught him leadership and time management. What Ed loves most about America is our freedom. Ed serves as chairman of the Farmington Planning Board and is an active member of the Farmington Board of Assessment Review. He is a charter member and commander of Farmington AMVETS Post 332. For his work with the post, Ed has been honored with the Daughters of the American Revolution Canandaigua Chapter Community Service Award, as well as by the Ontario County Board of Supervisors and the Office of the Aging. Supervisor Englesby, his nominator, said, "Ed is a great leader and very concerned for local veterans' needs. Ed managed the Access Ontario Fiber Ring in Ontario County for many years, and in 2010 was named the New York State Public Sector Chief Information Officer of the Year. For his military service, Ed received multiple meritorious service medals." Ed, thank you for your military service and all you continue to do.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
John David Keir, United States Navy, Hospital Corpsman, 2nd Class, Town of Canandaigua, nominated by Celine Marie Pascal and Barbara Stahl. John said he was inspired to join the Navy because as a boy, he imagined a life as a pharmacist, and the Navy offered the opportunity of training and a medical position as a pharmacist mate. John shared a couple moments he remembers most from his service. One of these moments happened during the Tet Offensive of 1968. John had this to share with us. For 77 days, the base of 5,500 Marines held against 20,000 North Vietnamese troops and relentless artillery bombardment. The horror, sacrifice, and bravery of these moments shaped the rest of my life. Many years later, I was compelled to write my memoir entitled Breaking Silences. I want to recognize the bravery and sacrifice of the brave men with whom I served. From the military, John said he learned compassion and gratitude, that every day is a gift for having survived his time as a combat medic. He also learned about the power of service and fellowship, and he gained a continued desire to serve combat veterans. John became a psychiatric nurse for the Canandaigua VA, where he spent his 46-year career caring for veterans who carried the heavy emotional and physical burdens of war. His nominators, who are fellow book club members with John, shared, "John is a good neighbor and friend. He is a humble, quiet man. In his actions, you will find a proud American whose faith in the country has only grown stronger as he so served those badly wounded by our wars." John said what he loves most about America: "I have a greater appreciation for being an American citizen because of the opportunities, freedoms to make choices, and because of the beauty of our country. Every American should appreciate the gift of freedom and the privilege of living in a democracy." Well said. Thank you for your service. Thank you so much. Thank you. Our next nominee is Andrew Kujalski, United States Navy E-7 from the town of Palmyra, and he was nominated by Lori Kujalski. Andrew was inspired to join the military because of a long line of family members who honorably served before him. He served 21 years in the Navy, including 3 combat tours. Please join me in showing our appreciation for his service with a round of applause. Our next nominee is Eric Link, United States Army Sergeant from the town of Victor, nominated by Michelle Ledoux. Thank you. Eric said it was his mother who inspired him to join the military. He shared with us, "She was orphaned during World War II, and her heroes were American soldiers. From a very young age, I wanted to join the United States Army because I believe so strongly in its mission." Eric suffers from PTSD and said while in combat, he remembers the situations in which he thought he was going to die. He learned humility, professionalism, and a desire to help the weak succeed. He added that the military taught him life lessons about perseverance that he continues to use in civilian life. Eric served in Afghanistan and Panama and was also to assist after 9/11, the LA riots, and Hurricane Wilma. He was featured in the book, A Leap of Faith, The Men and Women Who Served Post 9/11. The book features a collection of stories about military veterans, each sharing their own story about suffering from PTSD. Eric shared that he's a disabled combat veteran who still finds joy in serving my community. Eric shared what he loves most about America. "Freedom and life in America is what you make out of life. America is an opportunity for all. With enough hard work, anyone can be successful." Eric worked for the town of Victor. Among his military recognitions, he received the National Defense Service Medal and the Bronze Service Star. His nominator, Michelle, wrote, "Eric's whole life has been about serving the public and his country. He has unselfishly dedicated his time so others can enjoy an easier, more comfortable way of life." Eric, it is an honor to have you here and be able to thank you. John E. McKenzie, United States Marine Corps, Corporal E4, Town of West Bloomfield, nominated by Deborah Erb. John is a Purple Heart recipient, wounded in 1966 near Da Nang, Vietnam. Not surprisingly, this is the moment from his service that he remembers most, and he recalls the excellent care given to him while in the Da Nang Field Hospital. John shared that he joined the military because soldiers were needed for the Vietnam War, and he felt it was his duty to enlist. What John loves most about America is freedom. and the ability to become what you want to be. John has been an active volunteer firefighter for 54 years, and he's worked with a volunteer ambulance company. Please join me in showing our appreciation for his military service. Christopher T. McFiggins, United States Marine Corps Corporal, City of Canandaigua, nominated by Frank Beretta. Christopher was inspired to join the military after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. The moment in his service he remembers the most is meeting a gunnery sergeant who came into our hole in Fallujah after the position he had just left was mortared, resulting in casualties. From his time in the military, Chris said he learned initiative, responsibility, and respect. What he loves most about America is the people who continue to practice and promote traditional values. His nominator and friend, Frank Beretta, said, Chris's success in overcoming his post-service adjustment has been an inspiration. He is one of those people I take pride in calling a friend. He has tirelessly assisted people in Ontario County Drug and Veterans Courts as a Finger Lakes Area Counseling and Recovery Agency peer. He has given hope to many people seeking to overcome addiction. For his service, Chris received the Meritorious Mass Certificate of Commendation, Marine Corps Good Conduct Medal, Combat Action Ribbon, National Defense Service Medal, and Presidential Unit Citation. Chris, I want to thank you for your military service. Our next nominee is Mark Potter, United States Army Specialist 4, Town of Canandaigua, nominated by Randy Boylan, also a veteran of the United States Army. Mark is a recipient of the Purple Heart. He said he was inspired to join the military for pride in his country and because it was a childhood dream. Mark described the moment in service he remembers most, saying, "It was a day I will never forget. My team was on a recon mission when one of our guys lost his rucksack. We didn't hesitate to go back and get it. Two of my teammates and I headed out to recover the lost gear. There was a minefield we walked back through. One member of the team hit a mine, and in seconds it detonated, blowing all of us backwards. I took shrapnel to both legs, which would take years to recover from." Serving in the military has taught Mark leadership, teamwork, and selflessness. Asked what he loves about America, Mark said, "The freedoms we enjoy every day." Mark's nominator and friend Randy Boylan offered this. "Mark is one of the humblest people you will ever meet. He served his country, never asking for anything in return. He continues to be an inspiration every day. I am proud to call him my friend." In addition to the Purple Heart, Mark also received the Iraq Campaign Medal, the Achievement Medal, and the Oak Leaf Cluster. Mark, thank you for your military service. John H. Schestling, United States Air Force Technical Sergeant, Town of Farmington, nominated by Wendy Schlesling Osegari and Jackie Eaton. John served 21 and a half years in the Air Force, joining the military because he wanted to serve his country, which included service during the Vietnam War. John said the military taught him to honor all men and women who dedicated their lives to serve our country. He also learned a lot about law enforcement and security. What John loves most about our country is freedom. Please join me in a round of applause to show our appreciation for his service. Our next nominee is Paul R. Statsky, United States Navy Captain from the town of Huron, nominated by Michael Statsky. Paul served 29 years in the military, inspired to join the Navy to fly Navy jet aircraft off of aircraft carriers. Paul shared with us the moment in his service he remembers most is dive bombing through anti-aircraft artillery in the Vietnam War. During his Navy career, Paul flew more than 10 types of aircraft. He flew in combat operations in the Vietnam War and played a supporting role during Gulf War I, delivering supplies and personnel to deployed aircraft carriers. He had the honor of commanding 2 Navy squadrons overseas. Paul also served in the Naval Personnel Command, the Pentagon, and as a 7th Fleet Air Operations Officer. He retired in 1995 as Chief of Staff, Naval Air Training Command. Paul said what he loves most about America is being given the opportunity to succeed because of the freedoms we enjoy. His nominator and son Michael said of his father, "As a parent, he raised me to carry on the same morals he gained from his experiences. As a friend, he has provided advice, support, and motivation. Through this, he has set me up for success, and now I will always strive to accomplish as much as I can as he did." Very nice. Yeah. Paul earned numerous awards for his military service, including the Air Medal, the Meritorious Service Medal, and the Legion of Merit with Gold Stars. Paul is Vice Commander of the Wolcott American Legion Post 881, a member of the North Rose Wolcott School District Board of Education, and an assistant coach for the high school baseball team. Paul, thank you so much for your military service and your community service. Our next nominee is Charles Statuki, United States Air Force Technical Sergeant from the town of Manchester, hamlet of Port Gibson, nominated by Vicki McBride. My office heard from Vicki earlier today. Vicki is Charles's daughter. She shared with us that Charles recently had a surprise 90th birthday party for him. And it was at that birthday that they let him know that he had been nominated and would be attending this event. Unfortunately, Charles was also recently diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and his daughter Vicki shared with us today that he has good days and bad days, and while he is really looking forward to being here today wasn't such a good day. Charles was drafted into the military. He served 20 years in the Air Force. And I wanted to share this with you. When we asked him what he remembered most from his service, what he told us is he remembers leaving San Francisco in 1967 for Vietnam and hearing on the PA system the song, "I Left My Heart in San Francisco." Yeah. Charles said what he learned from his time in the military was doing things my way was not necessarily the right way. I have many regrets, but based on the results of my decisions, I think I made the right choices. Charles shared with us what he loves most about America is our freedom. He's traveled the world, and he said, there are a lot of nice places to visit, but there's no place like America. Vicki said that her father taught her love of country, service to others, rule of law, and most importantly, love of family. My father has always been an inspiration to his children, grandchildren, and now great-grandchildren. For his service, Charles received the Bronze Star, the United States Air Force Good Conduct Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, and the Vietnam Service Medal. Please join me in a round of applause to show our appreciation. Thank you. Our next nominee is Thomas Wallace, United States Army Sergeant First Class, Town of Farmington, nominated by Barbara Ann Van Sice on behalf of the Daughters of the American Revolution, Canandaigua Chapter. Thomas served 8 years active duty and 12 years reserve. I also want to point out that he was nominated by his wife, Jacqueline Lowe. The moment he remembers most from his service is this. When Major General Bowers presented the Army Commendation Medal for building a post office in Prüm, Germany, for 800 military personnel and their dependents. He said building and operating that post office were the particular skills the military taught him. What he loves most about America is the freedom to go where you want and do what you want. His nominator shared with us, Tom is my life partner, Through our relationship, we have actively supported veterans, active military, and many veterans activities as volunteers at the Canandaigua VA Hospital, Farmington AMVETS Post 332, Honeoye Falls American Legion Post 664, Reefs Across America, and Honor Flight Rochester. Tom is always willing to assist the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution Canandaigua chapter, to which I belong, with all of our volunteer service projects. He is tireless and truly dedicated to our nation and to those who have served and are serving in our nation's military. Tom, thank you for your military service. Mark Watts, United States Navy, Senior Chief Petty Officer, Village of Clifton Springs, nominated by GW List CEO Ed Mayer. Mark Watts served for 29 years, inspired to join the Navy by his father, who served in the Navy from 1952 to 1956. The moment in his service he remembers most is returning to Bangor, Maine at 3 a.m. to a large group of people, veterans and the general public, welcoming us home from a deployment to the Middle East in June 2008. Mark said his time in the military taught him to, quote, take care of the people around you, do the right thing every time, be honorable in your actions, and be able to laugh at yourself. What he loves most about America is the opportunity to chase your dreams and pursue the path that you choose. His nominator, and this is in here, Ed, it says, and boss. Ed had this to say: Mark has inspired me not only by the sacrifices that he and his family have personally made in service to our country, but by his continued dedication to other veterans. Mark has been a dedicated GW Lisk employee for 17 years, but I'm sure we only see a small part of what he does in support of his fellow veterans. In January, Mark coordinated care packages filled with donations from Lisk employees that were sent to a Rochester-based active reserve unit that was mobilized. In December, he loaded trees into trucks for the Trees for Troops program. He actively supports suicide awareness for veterans, and when I tried to meet with him regarding this nomination, he was unavailable, as he had already committed to working a homeless veterans event in Rochester that day. Mark is an inspiration to me personally, to our company, to our community, and I'm sure to countless veterans and their families. Mark's military honors include the Navy Achievement Medal, the Army Commendation Medal, the Army Achievement Medal, and numerous personal and unit awards. Mark, it is such an honor to recognize you today. Thank you. I want to thank you all again for being here to honor our nominees. They're great Americans, right? Can you give them another round of applause? One of the things that I always hope comes out of this annual event is that the people who are here are inspired by the stories that you hear, and that you're inspired by the service and the sacrifice of not only these men and women, but men and women who are currently serving right this moment all across our world. I want you all to know we just have immense gratitude and appreciation for your service, your sacrifice. We value our freedoms, and just we're filled with so much patriotism and pride in our country, largely due to all of you. So thank you again. As Mr. Statuki said, there's no place like America. Yeah. And from Mr. Kerr, every American should appreciate the gift of freedom and the privilege of living in a democracy. I don't know about you, but I sure am proud to be American. I hope you are too. A couple of things before we officially close the ceremony. I want to thank again Pastor David and all the people from Heritage Baptist. You do an incredible job. Thank you so, so much for hosting us. In the back of the room are poster boards for each of our nominees. You're welcome to take those home today. The poster boards, the nice booklets that outline the service history of every veteran, those are all put together by my team. I'm so blessed to have a wonderful, wonderful team who does an amazing job. And I want to take a minute to say thank you to those team members who are here today and recognize them. Austin is the person who's been taking the photos and who was the leader on this project. The back of the room, we have Donna, Kathy, Natalie, and up here with me is Sam. Thank you all for your great work. And one final thing before we break up, if I can ask all of the nominees and the nominators to come forward, we'd like to get a couple of group photos. But again, thank you to everyone for being here. God bless all of you. God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.